So, you're born somewhere in Latin America. Doesn't matter exactly where. What matters is that from day one, you've got a silver spoon shoved so far down your throat, you're practically choking on privilege. Just kidding. You're dirt poor. Your family lives in a 2-room shack where the roof leaks every time God sneezes. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is your parents. Your old man is a failed military officer who got discharged for disciplinary issues, which is military code for he punched his commanding officer during a drunken rage. Now he spends his days drowning in cheap rum, and his nights reminding you, with his fists, that you're the reason his life went sideways. Your mother? She's a ghost who happens to be alive. She floats through the house like you don't exist. And honestly, to her, you don't. You learn the survival code early. Trust no one, show no weakness, and never ever expect anyone to love you for free. Your dream is to become a doctor, to escape this hellhole, make real money, and never let anyone look down on you again. But dreams cost tuition, and tuition costs money, and money is something your family doesn't have. Your father wants you to join the military like him, continue the family tradition of failure and alcoholism. You'd rather chew glass, so you do the only thing a poor kid with a big brain can do. You study like your life depends on it, because it does. Fast forward, you're 22, you didn't become a doctor. You didn't have the connections or the cash to grease the right palms, but you did become something almost as useful, an accountant. You land a job in the regional governor's office, not glamorous, but it's a foot in the door. Your boss is the governor himself, a bloated aristocrat who got the position because he married the president's cousin. This guy's idea of hard work is choosing which mistress to visit after lunch. He signs documents without reading them. He naps through meetings. His main talent is nodding importantly while other people solve his problems. And those other people? That's you. You're the one rewriting tax codes at 2 a.m. You're the one finding loopholes that save the province millions. You're the one turning a bankrupt region into a profitable machine. You sleep 3 hours a night. You eat cold rice at your desk. You pour your entire soul into making this incompetent fool look like a genius. In 3 years, the province's revenue increases 20-fold. The president himself sends a letter of commendation. A medal ceremony is held. Photographers flash. Politicians shake hands. The governor stands at the podium, sweating through his expensive suit, reading a speech you wrote for him. He stumbles over words you taught him that morning. He accepts the medal with a humble smile that makes you want to vomit. You're in the back row, clapping, smiling, invisible. That night, alone in your cramped apartment, you stare at the ceiling and make a decision. You're done being the ghost. You're done building empires for fools who can't spell economy without autocorrect. From now on, you're going to be the one they clap for. Whatever it takes, whoever has to bleed. And then the universe hands you a golden opportunity wrapped in chaos. The nation loses a border war, badly. The economy collapses faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. The currency becomes so worthless that people are literally using it as toilet paper. The president, in his infinite wisdom, responds with brutal austerity measures. He cuts subsidies, raises taxes, and watches bread prices triple overnight. The people are starving, and starving people are angry people. Rebellions start popping up like mushrooms after rain, but most of them are jokes. Angry mobs with no plan, no leadership, no vision. They burn a few buildings, steal some food, and get slaughtered by the military within a week. You see something different. You see an opportunity. The people don't just hate the government, they hate the chaos. They want someone who looks like order, someone who speaks like a leader, someone who can promise bread and safety, and a boot on the neck of whoever's been making their lives miserable. You start small. You buy airtime on illegal radio stations. You broadcast speeches at midnight when the censors are asleep. Your voice crackles through cheap speakers in slums and villages, and people listen. You tell them exactly what they want to hear, that they deserve better, that the system is rigged, that you, only you, have the blueprint to fix everything. Your words spread like wildfire. Within 18 months, you've got half the military eating out of your hand. The soldiers are poor too. They haven't been paid in months. They've got more in common with you than with the fat generals sipping champagne in the capital. The coup is almost boring. One night, the palace gates open from the inside. The presidential guard lays down their weapons. The old regime crumbles like wet paper. You walk into the presidential office. The former president is sitting there, pathetic, still wearing his silk pajamas. He looks confused, like a child who doesn't understand why his toys have been taken. You don't give a speech, you just nod. Your men drag him away. By morning, you've abolished the old republic. You've renamed the nation the People's Republic. Ironic, considering what's coming. The crowd outside is chanting your name. Women are weeping with joy. Children are being lifted up to see your face. They're calling you the father of the nation. For the first time in your miserable life, You feel like you actually exist. Year 1 is paradise. You're the hero, the savior, the man who rose from nothing and toppled the corrupt elite with nothing but brains and guts. You pass reforms. You execute a few of the old regime's worst offenders in public trials that feel like justice. The newspapers print your face on every front page. Artists paint murals of your likeness on buildings. School children memorize your speeches like prayers. And something dangerous starts growing inside you. Every time they chant your name. Every time a general salutes you. Every time a minister nervously asks for your approval, you feel a warmth spreading through your chest. It's better than food, better than sleep, better than any drug. You start looking in the mirror differently. The face staring back isn't an accountant's face anymore. It's something more. Something almost divine. By year 2, you've stopped pretending to listen to your advisors. Why would you? You built this. You understand this nation better than anyone. When they disagree with you, it doesn't feel like advice. It feels like blasphemy. How dare these insects correct the sun? The purges begin quietly. No dramatic arrests. No public trials. People just vanish. A minister who questioned your economic policy doesn't show up to work one day. A general who laughed at the wrong joke is found dead in his bathtub. Heart attack! The official report says. Everyone knows better. Nobody says a word. The palace gets quieter, and the silence feels like respect. But here's the thing about power. Love has an expiration date. A crowd without a common enemy eventually decides that the enemy is its own leader. You need villains to keep the show running, so you decide to manufacture your own monsters. You secretly create 2 organizations. The first is a network of death squads. You call them the Wolves. Officially, they don't exist. Unofficially, they do your dirty work in the shadows. The second is a public security force. You call them the Shepherds. Heroes in clean uniforms who protect the people from the darkness. Here's the beautiful part. The Wolves create the darkness. The Shepherds save everyone from it, and you control both. Your first major operation is elegant in its brutality. The Wolves bomb a school bus in a remote village. 15 children dead. The nation is paralyzed with grief and terror. You give a televised address with tears streaming down your face, promising vengeance against the separatist terrorists responsible. The Shepherds round up a dozen suspects. They're not terrorists. They're political prisoners who've been rotting in your dungeons for months. You execute them on live television. The crowd cheers. You repeat this formula again and again. A factory explosion blamed on foreign saboteurs. An assassination attempt that you heroically survive. Each crisis is a gift. Each tragedy is an opportunity. You are the arsonist and the firefighter. You create the disease and sell the cure. And the people don't just obey you anymore, they worship you. But there's a thorn in your side that won't stop bleeding. Your father. Since you took power, the old bastard has been living like a king. You gave him a mansion, servants, everything he never earned. You thought it would buy his silence and maybe, just maybe, a scrap of respect. You were wrong. Instead of gratitude, he gives you humiliation. He sells embarrassing childhood stories to foreign journalists. He gives interviews calling you his creation, taking credit for your success. He accepts bribes from your enemies just to badmouth you in private. At state dinners, he gets drunk and treats you like a servant in front of your own generals. He's a grease stain on your immaculate image, a living reminder that you were once a scared little boy who got beaten in a leaky shack. You can't just execute him. Killing your own father is a bad look, even for a dictator. But you can't let him keep embarrassing you either. So you look at a map of the northern province, the separatist region you've been itching to crush. Then you look at your father, drooling into his wine across the table, and the 2 pieces of the puzzle click together. You organize a reconciliation tour. You convince your father to visit his hometown, the humble village where he grew up, a chance to show the nation that the father of the nation comes from real roots. He agrees, flattered by the attention, too drunk to smell the trap. The day arrives. Your father steps out to greet the adoring crowd, except the crowd includes a special surprise. Your own wolves, dressed in northern separatist uniforms, carrying weapons that can be traced directly to the rebel leadership. The attack is brutal and public. Your father dies on camera, gunned down by separatist terrorists. You give the performance of a lifetime. Tears, rage, a trembling voice calling for justice. Within a week, your military has crushed the northern province completely. You annex the territory, execute the rebel leaders, and declare a new national holiday, Martyrs' Day. A day to honor your father's sacrifice. You've turned your greatest shame into your greatest political asset. Your father is finally useful to you as a corpse. By year 5, you decide it's time to secure the dynasty. You marry the daughter of your most powerful general, a political transaction dressed up as romance. She gives you 2 sons. Your eldest is a genetic miracle. Charismatic, handsome, kind. People adore him. He's everything you pretend to be, but aren't. When he walks into a room, people smile. When you walk into a room, people kneel. There's a difference, and it bothers you more than you'll ever admit. But here's the secret. He's not really yours. You adopted him from an orphanage when he was an infant. You raised him to be perfect, groomed him to be loved, trained him to be the ideal symbol of hope and unity. Because you're not raising an heir, you're raising a weapon. Your youngest son, the one who's actually your blood, is different. Quiet, patient, always watching from the shadows. He's got your eyes, your cunning, your hunger. He knows the eldest isn't his real brother. He knows his role is to wait. Year 25. You've been at war with the Federation of Monterosa for nearly a decade. It's a stalemate that's draining both nations dry. The people are tired. The generals are tired. Even you're tired, though you'd never admit it. Peace is possible, but peace requires sacrifice. So, you offer your eldest son a marriage alliance. Your golden boy will wed the Federation's princess, uniting the 2 nations and ending the bloodshed forever. The announcement sends shockwaves of joy across both countries. Finally, peace. Finally, hope. The wedding day arrives. Thousands gather. Cameras broadcast to millions. Your eldest son stands at the altar, radiant, beloved, perfect. The toast begins. The princess raises her glass. Your son raises his. They both drink. The princess collapses first. Then your son clutches his chest, gasps, and falls. Chaos erupts, screaming, panic, guards rushing in. But you stay perfectly still. Because you know exactly what happened. Your youngest son slipped the poison into both glasses. The hallucinogens in the princess's wine will make her look guilty, erratic, insane. The poison in your eldest's wine will make him a martyr. The Federation is blamed. Their own princess murdered your perfect son. The peace treaty is ash. Your nation howls for blood. The war ends in 10 days. Total victory. The Federation surrenders unconditionally. Their president is executed on live television. Their territory is absorbed into your empire. You give a heartbroken speech. You request 3 days of mourning in absolute solitude. Alone in your chambers, your youngest son emerges from the shadows. The eldest performed perfectly, he says. Just like you planned. You nod. You feel nothing. From the beginning, the golden child was never meant to rule. He was meant to die beautifully, a martyr to justify conquest. And he did his job perfectly. Year 30. Your empire spans half the continent. Your face is carved into mountains. Your name is spoken like a prayer. But you're old now. The hands shake, the mind wanders. The doctors whisper when they think you're not listening. And your youngest son has been waiting long enough. You should have seen it coming. You taught him everything. You taught him that power is survival. You taught him that love is weakness. You taught him that when the old lion can't hunt anymore, you don't wait for nature to take its course. The betrayal comes during a private meeting, just the 2 of you, father and son. He pours the tea himself, a gesture of respect, you think. The first sip tastes slightly bitter. You ignore it. By the second sip, your hands are trembling. By the third, you can't lift the cup. He watches you with those cold eyes, your eyes. You taught me everything, father, he says quietly. Including this, you could call for guards. You could scream, but you already know they've been bought, just like you bought them 30 years ago. As the poison works through your blood, you look at your son, really look at him, and you see yourself. Hungry, ruthless, certain. You built this weapon. You sharpened this blade, and now it's cutting your throat. Your last thought isn't about your empire. It isn't about your legacy. It's a question. At what exact moment did that beaten kid in the leaky shack become the monster who built a throne on bones? And the answer, you realize, was always the same. You didn't become a monster. You just stopped pretending you weren't one. Your son announces your death as a tragic assassination by internal traitors. He uses it to purge his rivals. He consolidates power faster than you ever did. The cycle continues. The machine keeps running. A new dictator sits on the throne. And somewhere, in a shack with a leaky roof, another beaten kid is reading books about powerful men, dreaming of the day he'll make the world kneel.